Budget and Finance Committee. We've got 4 different departments on the schedule today. At 4 o'clock, we have MTA WeGo. 4:30 is the mayor's office. 5 o'clock is finance. And at 5:15 is the Arts Commission. So at this time, we'd like for WeGo to come forward. Mr. Bland, if you and your staff just come on up and have a seat in front and introduce yourself and your members when you get here, and we can go from there. Do me a favor, make sure the microphones are working in front of you. Hey, Steve, you doing all right? It's good to see you as always. And you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Budget and Finance Committee. My name's, as you heard, Steve Bland. I'm the CEO for WeGo Public Transit. WeGo is actually the marketing name for both the Nashville Metropolitan Transit Authority and the Regional Transportation Authority of Middle Tennessee. And with me today at the table is Ed Oliphant, our CFO. So first, a recap of last year's results. Last year, Metro was able to increase our operating budget allocation by just under $10 million, approximately 18%. That allowed us to fully fund new service initiatives that we began midway through the prior fiscal year and continue to expand our available services as called out in the Metro Nashville Transportation Plan that the Council adopted in 2020. The allocation also allowed us to initiate several programs to improve service reliability, enhance the customer experience, and to attract and retain qualified operating employees, which I know is a challenge that most Metro departments are facing at this point. Significantly, one of the outcomes of these initiatives has been to attract and retain enough bus operators to achieve our full budget level for this position. And I can't overstate that enough. Number one, it is certainly the first time that in the time that I've been in Nashville that we've reached that number. And number two, that's an enabler for us to do more on service expansion. So among the specific service initiatives we funded in last year's budget were additional trips on several of our local routes experiencing ridership growth and increasing delays and disruptions due to congestion, improved frequency and span on several of our routes, full year operation of the new Hillsborough Transit Center and the expanded services associated with that center, full year operation of the new Crosstown route, the 79 that connects the Skyline area with Madison via Briley Parkway and Due West Avenue, an expansion of our WeGo Link Mobility on Demand program to 7 zones, which now include Antioch, South Nashville, Goodlettsville, Hermitage, Sylvan Park, Cockrell Bend, and Bellevue. Following the massive ridership loss we experienced during the pandemic, we've seen ridership rebound nicely. Year-over-year ridership this year is up 32% compared to fiscal year 22-23. And overall ridership is back to just under 90% of pre-pandemic levels, and we still continue to see increases. So we do expect to get back to pre-pandemic levels over the course of the next year or so. Several of our routes, including the busiest route in the system, the 55 Murfreesboro Pike, are operating at well over 100% of pre-pandemic ridership. And a recent national analysis of our peer bus systems, Nashville finished second among 20 bus systems in the nation for the rate of ridership return and first with respect to the restoration of service and expansion of service. Other noteworthy activities over the course of the year were the groundbreaking for our Ernest Rip Patton Jr. North Nashville Transit Center, continued growth in the use of our quick ticket contactless fare payment system, and enactment of a fare structure that caps rider fares under quick ticket at the best value for a particular rider based on their ridership patterns. This year, we've upgraded an additional 23 stops with accessibility improvements and passenger shelters, and have many more in various stages of design and construction. So that's pushed our total number of sheltered stops to just over 280, more than doubling the number we had just 5 years ago. We're also in the process of replacing all 1,600 bus stop signs in our system with signage that provides better information to our customers at the stop, including QR codes with which they can access real-time bus information and fare payment information. To date, we've replaced over 450 of these signs, and more are coming online every week. That brings us to the upcoming budget and Mayor Cooper's operating budget proposal. The mayor's budget proposal fully funds our baseline service request for $68,878,310 for MTA services and $1,820,200 for RTA service. This recommended appropriation provides budget stability for all current services, assuring stable service and fare levels through FY 23-24, provides for full-year funding of service expansion started partway during the current fiscal year, and provides operating support for capital projects that will come online during the fiscal year, including resources to expand our stop and shelter maintenance staffing and funding to support partial year operation of the Dr. Ernest Rip Patton Jr. North Nashville Transit Center, which will open in the spring of 2024. This is particularly noteworthy this year when, like all other metro departments, we've also been faced with unprecedented levels of inflation in a number of our spending categories. With respect to our investment request to help fund new service expansion in the upcoming fiscal year, we did put in a pretty aggressive proposal. The mayor's recommended proposal would provide us with approximately one half of the requested funds, about $2.6 million compared to $5.4 originally requested. This will still enable us to fund some very highly requested service enhancements, but we may need to move at a little bit slower pace in terms of all of the service expansion and push some of those either into the spring or into FY 24-25. Among the improvements that the funding will definitely allow us to advance in the fall, this coming fall, are additional service hours on our high ridership routes that are continuing to experience on-time performance problems due to high boarding levels and congestion. And these include the number 3 West End, number 18 Airport, number 52 Nolensville Pike, and number 55 Murfreesboro Pike at certain times of the day and week. It will extend service span on our 9 frequent transit network corridors. Currently, our last lineup is 12:15 a.m. We'll be extending to 1:15 a.m. We'll be extending the service span on the number 6 Lebanon Pike and number 42 St. Cecilia Cumberland routes to 11 o'clock p.m. We'll be improving service frequency on the number 7 Hillsborough Pike and the number 8 8th Avenue South. We'll also have some level of span improvements on 2 of our crosstown routes, the 75 Midtown and the 77 Thompson Wedgwood. And finally, we'll be adding 4 more, or proposing to add 4 more WeGo Link Mobility on Demand zones. And those are proposed for the Brick Church Pike area, the Rosebank neighborhood, Burton Hills neighborhood, and Old Hickory neighborhood. We will need to assess and prioritize our spring 2024 service improvements based on the final allocation of Metro funding, as well as our own budget status at that time and various equity considerations that we go through when we're doing service analysis. We will be able to pursue quite a few of the improvements that I'm going to mention, but not all of them under the proposed funding levels. And a lot of those center around when we open the North Nashville Transit Center, and they include an extension of the number 9 Metro Center route to the North Nashville Transit Center, extension of the 14 Whites Creek route to the Transit Center, improvements to the 22 Bordeaux bus in that area, creation of a new crosstown route along Trinity Lane that connects North Nashville and East Nashville, and additional and more span and frequency improvements on the 2 crosstown routes that I mentioned earlier, the 75 Midtown and the 77 Thompson Wedgwood. In the Metro Nashville Transportation Plan approved by the Council in 2020, that plan approved approximately $29.5 million in additional annual operating funding to MTA in 2019 dollars to expand service hours by approximately 30% overall. And if approved in its current form, the mayor's FY 23-24 budget proposal will get us to just under the halfway point in that plan. And with that, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my remarks, and we look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Steve. Councilmember Van Rees, you're recognized. Sorry. I apologize. I thought I'd already hit the button. You're
That's fine. I know it's, you should hesitate to turn it on. It's right-minded thinking. First of all, thank you for the start of the 79 in Madison. It's been nothing short of life-changing for some residents along that corridor. I've gotten reports from folks that without that route, they would not have access to food. And so that alone, thank you. Thank you for that. I am also kind of curious. You said that the rate of ridership, we were in second place. Okay. Who was first place? You get it.
Alexandria, Virginia.
Okay, well, that's okay then. As long as it had nothing to do with Austin, I'm fine. The 200.
Austin was middle of the pack.
Okay, there you go. Thank you. I feel better every time. The 280 sheltered stops, I missed the number. What was the increase on that? You said there was an increase of.
Over the past 5 years, we're up about 150 or 60. We can get you detailed.
Okay.
We can give you kind of the year-by-year growth as well as what the planned expansion is.
That's why I'm curious about, what we're trying to see on a quarterly basis and how we're kind of tracking that, not just annually, but how quickly are we moving, and how can we as council members, even though I'm outgoing, how we can encourage new developments, particularly on the corridor, to participate in the shelters.
Yeah, actually, on that front, first of all, council member, we track it pretty much on a daily basis, both the shelters as well as the new stop installations. And I have to give a lot of credit to NDOT. Over the last couple of years, we've seen, number one, a lot more integration of the bus stop experience in their projects, whether that's sidewalk projects, broader corridor projects, but also more incorporation of them in the development reviews. And we've probably seen, and get you specific numbers, but certainly at least a dozen or so developments over the last year or two where the shelters have been incorporated. We'll happily provide the shelter. That's the easy part. It's those infrastructure improvements, particularly, requiring ADA accessibility and connecting to surrounding pedestrian infrastructure, and largely that's been a willing, that hasn't been arm twisting with the developers. That's been a willing involvement.
Councilmember, you done? I'm just making sure. Vice Chair Gamble, you are always recognized.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you all for being here and all the great work that you're doing to expand service in our city. My question has to do with what you were just talking about, those capital improvements and improving the bus stop areas, making them ADA compliant. Is there a number that you have looked at and analyzed that you need for those most urgent capital improvements that we might be considered to adding to your budget?
Yep. I think over the last couple of years, the administration, this council, has given us a pretty steady infusion of about $3 million a year through the capital spending plan and stop and shelter improvements, and that's been great on two fronts. Number one, the projects it funds themselves, but it also allows us to leverage those funds to get additional state and federal dollars. So we're typically turning that into $7 to $8 million. The challenge on a lot of the sites, people kind of think, well, how hard could it be to bolt a shelter to the sidewalk? But, I know you all have been around a lot of the projects where we've cut ribbons, that it's not just bolting the shelter to the sidewalk, it's building the sidewalk and filling in the ditch and building the retaining wall and trying to get it, accessible to whatever the surrounding development is. So some of them are pretty significant engineering pieces. At that level, we're in pretty good shape to keep projects in the pipeline. I mentioned we've got 1,600 total stops, 280 current shelters. I know our staff has identified easily 60 to 80 more sites that, just based on ridership patterns or social equity considerations or, immediate adjacency of important facilities like healthcare facilities, schools, grocery stores, what have you, would warrant shelters. But I would tell you that if we have 1,600 stops and 1,599 shelters, I'm sure some council member is going to get a complaint from a constituent that their stop doesn't have a shelter. So it's always going to be a rising bar.
And do you have a guesstimate or maybe even a true evaluation of what would be needed from a funding expense to address those things?
Yeah, it really depends. If we're kind of going in, I'll say alone, and doing a site, our planning estimate, they'll vary up and down, is about $100,000 per site. Now, some of those may be lower if there's not as intense a construction requirement. And then there's also the opportunity, like we saw in the recent 12th Avenue South project that NDOT completed, that whether it's Metro Water, we got to participate with Metro Water on a project they did up in Salem Town to incorporate a bus stop into an overall water improvement. Certainly the projects that NDOT's doing, or other public facilities when schools are built or what have you, if there's a way to incorporate that in, we get more bang for the buck, new libraries or whatever else might be popping up in the metro. So that's kind of the challenge with it. It would be anywhere from like $0 to $100,000. Well, I should say $10,000 is about the cost to install the shelter. But we will happily provide the shelter if someone else takes care of the rest of it.
Thank you, Councilmember Gamble. I don't see any other hands. Oh, sorry. There they go. They all start popping up and you say you don't see anyone. Councilmember Cash, you're recognized.
Thanks. I think I'll be real quick. You mentioned something about the crosstown, the 75 and the 77, and I think the word partial was mentioned. And also in the budget book, I think there's, in the descriptor, it talks about that you'll be able to do some new things part of the year. And I was wondering if the partial from the 75 and 77 and the part of the year in the book were talking about the same thing or different things.
So the 75 and the 77 improvements are proposed in two phases this year. In fact, we'll be out for comment, if we're not already, in the very near future for proposed fall improvements. We basically do our major service changes in October and April, which means we really need to be going out now for our Title VI review and public participation on the fall changes. And one of those will be some improvement in span and frequency on the 75 and the 77, but I would call it a smidge. And then the larger improvements in those in span and frequency going to 7-day are really associated. A lot of things we want to center on the opening of the North Nashville Center, because right now both of those routes extend there. And because basically we're still kind of stopping at a very, unsubstantial stop, we really want to focus more service improvement there when we actually have the facility to support that expansion. So two phases, one that's definite, it's a tough word. We still have to go through the Title VI and all that, so anything could happen, but realistically will happen in the October changes, and then another that hopefully happens with the spring changes in April.
And some of the changes to the 77 relate to getting folks to and from the like soccer games and.
Yeah, that's certainly one piece of utility to it.
And keep in mind there are 3 universities along that 77 route.
Well, what I was going to say, and when we were putting together the package for the North Nashville Center, one of the graphics we've always shown is how improving frequency, span, connection points between service and crosstown connections. The real goal is to make more locations more accessible to more people overall. If someone's choosing to go to a soccer game, that's great. If they're choosing to go to night shift, working at a hospital, that's great. If somebody, based on their work schedule, needs to get to a grocery store, so that's kind of the overall mission. We certainly look at trip generators, along those routes, and that factors into the modeling that we do. But we call our mission statement "Connecting People to Life." So whatever part of life they choose to connect to, we'll leave that up to them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Cash. Councilmember Nash, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My sense on Nolensville Road out District 27 from Harding Place out to Olico Boulevard doesn't have as much ridership maybe as Harding Place in. And I wonder, is that a realistic assessment.
Yeah, that's certainly true. And generally you're going to find that on any of the radial routes that the further out you go, the more sporadic the ridership goes, because somebody who's starting at the very end of the line, maybe going all the way or maybe going long way in, and you just kind of gather that up. You'll see that. I live in East Nashville, and so the 56 is our core route. Well, most of the time right at Rivergate Mall, you're picking up the 3 or 4 people getting on at Rivergate Mall, but as you kind of go along that route, so that's always the challenge with it. We see, frankly, the same thing with the span times. When we extended span to the 12:15 a.m. lineup, 12:15 a.m. lineup does okay, doesn't do great, but as soon as we put in the 12:15 a.m. lineup, the 11:15 p.m. lineup jumped up, because people are always worried about missing that last bus. So I'm almost willing to bet. I never bet elected bodies because that come back to bite you. But I'm almost willing to bet that when we put a 1:15 a.m. lineup, then the 12:15 a.m. lineup, will pick up and people will rely on it more. But if I could just jump on one more point on that, one of the strategies that we're looking at with respect to that, and Councilmember Van Rees alluded to the 79, is as we're doing more of the neighborhood transit centers, kind of focusing, real high frequency, real long span services in those core routes, we'll be looking to do more with things like neighborhood circulators or crosstown connectors that probably won't run as often or maybe won't run the span, but that can get you connected locally, because I've heard the same things that you have, council member. Not to mention the fact that a significant number of the folks in Madison were riding all the way into town just to go all the way back out to the Walmart up at Skyline, so saving considerable time and just trying to create, more of those different travel options that people have.
A couple of years ago, I got a call from a constituent where we had cut the bus route on Edmondson Pike, and I know that was just didn't have the ridership to make it viable. Any thoughts on whether that'll get reestablished?
Well, a lot of what we've been trying to do with several routes were eliminated, restricted back, number one, when we saw the state funding cuts in 2019. And then we reshuffled a lot of service in the pandemic, particularly oriented to some of the old commuter express routes that, really commuter ridership still hasn't, downtown office worker ridership still hasn't come back, and I'm not sure that it ever will to 100%. One of the strategies we've adopted has been the WeGo Link program, where we have that partnership with Uber and other providers, basically to get folks from bigger zones on an on-demand basis, including in the Edmondson Pike area of South Nashville and the Antioch area. One of the things we saw in Antioch, where we used to have the old 38 bus, which sort of meandered around all of Antioch, probably a great way to see the Antioch neighborhood, not necessarily the best way to get anywhere in a hurry. We saw a couple things. Number one, the pattern we're seeing on WeGo Link is very closely replicates what the old route did. The difference is under the old Route 38, our subsidy per rider was about $40 to $45, and in the WeGo Link program, it's about $8. So that enables us to spread those dollars quite a bit further. The opposite could be true. As we continue to expand WeGo Link zones and development occurs in different parts of the county, we may very well see usage patterns on WeGo Link that suggest we should do some form of a circulator route. Great example of a circulator route that works incredibly well is the 76 Madison connector. Which has, I'm not going to put it up with the productivity we see on a Gallant Pike or a Murfreesboro Pike, but it's middle of the pack in terms of, ridership based on service. So it could go both ways. And again, the key part is making sure we can get as many people as possible from one point to the other in the most appropriate way possible, that we can get to the most people that we can.
And we all do appreciate that and understand that money's not unlimited and you got to make the most of what you got.
We all want schools and police to get their fair share too.
And sidewalks and
And sidewalks.
Do we do any park and ride at all? Is expanding it have any value?
It does. We do some. We need to do more. It is particularly a focus on our RTA side and some of the outlying counties. You know, I know this meeting's being broadcast and recorded, so I hesitate to say this. We have park and ride, where we have designated parking areas. We also have what we call hide and ride, which is where folks will park their car somewhere that isn't necessarily, we don't advertise it, we don't sanction it, but fortunately the church or the school or the shopping center owner is pretty tolerant as long as it doesn't get to, you know, super levels. It is valuable, particularly for longer trips. We find, you know, on a short trip, very few people are going to drive, you know, 2 miles to a park and ride lot to ride 2 miles on the bus. You know, once you kind of get in your car, you know, you're going to finish out that distance. But we're definitely looking at doing that. Some of the upcoming projects where that would be a higher priority, I think most folks are aware we're programming to do another transit center in conjunction with the Global Mall redevelopment down at Hickory Hollow. And that would definitely be one we would target as what we would refer to as more of a regional transit center, which would include park and ride capacity.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Bland.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Mr. Nash. Councilmember Nash. Councilmember Henderson, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chair Roten. And I do that informal park and ride. That's how I got here today, Director Bland. But I don't hide and ride. In fact, I have a big logo on the side of my car right now. So I guess somebody's going to know I'm there. But I think in our suburban periphery, I would assert that our parking requirements, a lot of our commercial areas are overparked anyway. I've lived in that area for 16 years. I've never seen that parking lot full, and I'm a customer at that store. So I would encourage us, I guess maybe just from a education and partnership standpoint. I know people do get very territorial about parking, and shared parking are difficult conversations to have. We've tried to have shared parking conversations in various suburban business areas, but I think there's a lot of potential there that it kind of behooves the business, right? You park there, and then where do you pick up your groceries when you get back, and so forth. So I think some education around that could kind of habituate that some, and then there's really no cost other than kind of the education to the city. So just for what that's worth, to build on Councilman Nash's question, I did want to ask about maintenance dollars in your operational budget. And I see that increasing a little bit over the years. I recall some years back when riding, you would not have trash cans at bus stops, and there was sort of the ambiguity around like who is cleaning up these trash cans, to whom does that belong, and so forth. Can you speak a little bit to that now? Because I find all the bus stops to be especially tidy now, and just kind of what was that increment or that process that kind of got us there, please?
I would say it really first started, some folks may remember when Mayor Dean was in office, he initiated the 100 shelter program, which we've now certainly well exceeded. But one of the points we made was that prior to that, frankly, maintenance on the shelters was very much hit and miss. If one of you all would call and complain, a crew would get sent out, or someone in the neighborhood would kind of take care of it. So we do have a much more structured shelter maintenance program, both in terms of repair, trash collection, and cleaning. That's required staff resources. As I alluded to earlier, we kind of look at benchmarks. So the lady who, frankly, one of the best maintenance people I've ever met, the lady who runs our shelter stop maintenance program, takes it personally. When she gets a dirty shelter complaint, she'll go out and clean it herself if she needs to. But her standard is that trash should be emptied twice a week at each of the 280 shelters, and we shoot to get a cleaning out once a quarter, to get a crew out to do that. And the baseline budget that was fully funded in the mayor's proposal, we would be able to add another shelter crew. So we obviously look at benchmarks to keep those standards. As you add a certain number of shelters, that means you need to add another crew. So with this budget, we'll be able to add the crew and the equipment and vehicle to be able to staff another shelter maintenance crew.
And for WeGo Central, as far as how that kind of factors in with your cleaning crew and staff, and in as you look ahead as far as kind of renovating that and where you might have a southern hub and so forth. I have as a rider there, I mean, it seems y'all have maybe a little bit of a bird problem in there, and I didn't know if y'all are making any capital adjustments that might make that space kind of easier to keep clean.
Yeah, and the renovations we did several years back certainly helped. Did that when we basically tore down and replaced the restrooms. That made it much easier to maintain. A lot of the floor surfaces are easier to maintain. I will say that is a high intensity use building. That is a tough operating environment. We have a number of reasons why our long-term strategy is to sort of decentralize the system. Certainly it makes it more convenient for service. But the honest truth is, that is a huge, there's a lot of traffic in there. There's a lot of people in there. There's just a lot of stuff going on, which makes it a really difficult building to maintain on a day-to-day basis. So we do obviously our daily standards. One of the things that happened through the course of the pandemic was we increased custodial staff there by about 50% and extended their shifts. One of the side benefits of that is, when there isn't something else going on, which there usually is, but when it's a little quiet, they'll actually jump on a bus and do a quick clean of a bus in the middle of the day, which has been a big improvement. But it's a tough one. It's one we're particularly paying special note of at the Hillsborough Transit Center, which is going to be more kind of representative of our neighborhood centers, because those are much easier to stay ahead of. But it's certainly something we look at every day. We see it every day because we're there every day. But certainly something we pay attention to. And we have a regular programming of capital improvements that includes Central. I think in the upcoming year, while we're doing a full-blown escalator replacement program there in the upcoming year, we're also designing an upgrade to the outdoor shelters that are on the auditorium side to give more protection to folks who are waiting for service there.
Councilmember Van Rees, you had a question?
Yeah, just a follow-up question. You might not know this off the top of your head, but what is the capacity of that, of Central? How many people come in and out of there on a daily basis?
On a daily basis, if you include bus passengers, patrons, that's pretty hot Dunkin' Donuts, pretty good retail location, and folks who park, it's about 15,000 people a day who kind of go through there. So I kind of relate it to, it'd be like Bridgestone Arena having a sold-out hockey game every day of the year. About 2,200 bus movements in and out of there. So from even from a traffic standpoint in that part, believe me, I get those calls as well, especially from the state capitol, folks across the street. And then it's a system resilience issue that, when something's going on in that part of town, it really has a ripple effect across the entire system. So again, one of the objectives of moving toward a multiple downtown hub system and moving toward more neighborhood transit centers is system resilience. The Elizabeth Duff Transit Center, WeGo Central, is always going to be a crucial facility for us, is always going to be a main connection point, but it can't be the only connection point for the reasons that both you and Councilmember Henderson mentioned.
Thank you for that additional information. I think that if you're not seeing it, you don't know it. I think it's important for the general public to know, even in your marketing efforts and in communication with new council members, as you kind of bring in that education aspect in the autumn to have them understand how many people are going in and out. I wanted to, as an outgoing council member, give it a shout out to Eric Beyer and his responsiveness and his kindness in the face of some challenges. I also am recalling a lot of the work that happened during COVID and being able to move people around at Music City Center and having that collaborative spirit is incredibly important. I have friends that work in the Denver transit area, and they're always trying to get in front of crime and vagrancy as well. And I know that that's always front of mind. And so the way that your staff and colleagues have been able to collaborate with security and health issues as well has been really impressive. And I just wanted to take the time out to say that publicly, particularly in this last term, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. If I could just dovetail on one of the projects we have coming up in the upcoming years, we're actually doing an overall system security review, which includes not only the reality of security, how many incidents you have, what have you, but also the perception of security. And in large part, I actually just came back yesterday from a meeting with my peers around the country, transit CEOs around the country. And it's the number one issue. A lot of the issues that we're seeing pretty much everywhere in society now are really kind of bubbling up in transit. So the idea that the old transit security thing was the enforcement stuff, and now really more is the combination with, wraparound services to try to get folks help that they need, but also to recognize that it has to be a positive environment, for all riders, or really we're kind of on a downhill slope. So we've had great partnerships with Metro Social Services, the Homeless Impact Division, certainly Metro Nashville Police Department, and Chief Drake has been awesome. And we're looking to expanding those relationships and making it more effective in the future.
Thank you, Councilmember. We are over our time, so I could ask a few more questions. Two things. I'm about to come off the NERA board, and I think we're going to get a new person put on there on June 1. We're going to start voting to get someone put on there. So with speaking of NERA, I was going to ask you just real quick if you could just summarize how the STAR is going and kind of the overview of that real quick for us.
So anyone who's interested, we're in the midst of doing a long-term visioning plan with the STAR, which could include repurposing around more entertainment events and what have you. The STAR in particular and the RTA commuter services, to be perfectly honest, are still very low in ridership relative to pre-pandemic. We're only at about where the MTA system, the city system, is right around the 90% mark and climbing. We're kind of stuck at the 40% mark. With that said, people aren't afraid to travel together. That's not the issue, because when we do the special event trains, we generally get a great response. Sometimes they sell out. And in fact, in the upcoming year, we're looking at doing more on the regional bus side to extend some of that to the other outlying counties. But it's something we're definitely taking a hard look at to see what we might do to bump that up.
Thank you, Mr. Bland. Does anybody have any other questions? Mr. Bland, we appreciate it. Thank you for all the time we've spent together over the last 2 terms, so I appreciate it. So
We'll be calling on you.
yeah, I know you will. Thank you. The next up is going to be the mayor's office, and I see Deputy Mayor Brenda Haywood sitting out there. I don't know if she's the one that's coming up or not, but I hope she is, so I can give her a hard time when she gets here. So come on up. We'll take about a 3-minute break.